They threw her out on the street with nothing but the clothes on her back. Beatrice Worthington laughed as she told her daughter-in-law, "You were never one of us, you penniless charity case." They thought they had won. They thought they had disposed of trash. But the Worthingtons made one fatal calculation error. They didn't check who her father was. They didn't know that the woman scrubbing their floors was the sole heiress to an empire that could buy and sell their entire existence before breakfast. This is the story of Sarah's revenge, and it is terrifyingly sweet. The silence in the dining room of the Worthington estate in Greenwich, Connecticut, was heavier than the crystal chandelier hanging above the table. It was the kind of silence that suffocated you, broken only by the aggressive clinking of silver forks against fine china. Sarah sat at the foot of the table, her hands folded in her lap to hide the tremors. She looked at her husband, Liam. He was staring at his phone, scrolling through messages, a faint, dopey smile playing on his lips that he quickly hid whenever he felt Sarah's gaze. He hadn't touched the pot roast Sarah had spent 4 hours preparing. "Dry," Beatrice Worthington said, dropping her fork with a clatter. Sarah flinched. "I'm sorry, Beatrice. I used the slow cooker method. You don't blame the method for the incompetence of the cook." "Sarah," Beatrice snapped. She was a woman of 60 who fought the aging process with the ferocity of a cornered animal, tight skin, sharp eyes, and a heart made of cold granite. She took a sip of her wine, her eyes scanning Sarah's outfit with disdain. "And really that dress? We have guests coming next weekend for the foundation gala. I hope you don't plan on embarrassing us wearing that." It's the one you bought me for Christmas 3 years ago," Sarah whispered. "Exactly," Beatrice sneered. 3 years ago. It's out of season. But I suppose when one comes from your background, understanding the nuance of seasonal fashion is asking too much." Across the table, Charles Worthington. Liam's father barely looked up from his Wall Street Journal. He was a man who believed the domestic sphere was beneath his pay grade, effectively giving Beatrice license to run the family like a dictatorship. "Liam," Sarah said softly. "Can we talk later?" Liam finally looked up, his blue eyes, glassy and detached. "About what?" "About us. About everything." Beatrice laughed, a harsh, barking sound. "Oh, there is no later, dear. Actually, Liam, why don't you tell her now? The roast is ruined anyway. We might as well get to the main course." Sarah's heart hammered against her ribs. She looked from Beatrice's triumphant grin to Liam's pale face. "Liam!" Liam cleared his throat, pushing his plate away. He adjusted his tie, looking everywhere but at his wife. "Sarah, look. This isn't working. It hasn't been working for a long time." "What do you mean?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling. "I've done everything. I quit my job at the gallery because your mother said it was distracting. I run this house. I manage your schedule. You're a glorified secretary." "Sarah," Beatrice interrupted, slamming her hand on the table. "Let's be honest. Liam married you during a rebellious phase. He thought it was romantic to pick up a stray dog from the shelter. But strays don't belong in shows. "Mother, please," Liam muttered, though he didn't defend her. He turned to Sarah. "I've met someone else, Sarah." The air left the room. "Someone else? Jessica van der Hoven," Beatrice announced with glee. "Real estate money, New York royalty, a girl who knows which fork to use, a girl who brings assets to the marriage, not just bills." Sarah felt the tears pricking her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "Jessica, your assistant, the one I trained." Liam shrugged. "She understands me. She's ambitious, and she's pregnant." The world stopped. The ticking of the grandfather clock in the hall seemed to thunder like a cannon. Pregnant. They had been trying for 2 years. 2 years of negative tests of Beatrice, telling her she was barren of Liam losing interest. "You're leaving me," Sarah stated, her voice surprisingly steady. "We want you out by tonight," Beatrice said, slicing into a piece of bread. "I've already had the guest room prepared for Jessica. She's moving in tomorrow. We can't have you lingering around like a bad smell." "Tonight?" Sarah stood up. "This is my home. This is my house." Charles spoke for the first time, his voice a low rumble. "The deed is in my name. You have no claim here." "I signed a prenup," Sarah said, her mind racing. "But I have rights to—" "You signed a prenup that my lawyers at Cravath, Swain and Moore drafted," Charles said, mentioning one of the most prestigious law firms in the world. "You get a payout of $10,000 for every year of marriage. You've been married 3 years. That's $30,000. Take it and go, or fight us, and end up with nothing but legal fees you can't afford." Sarah looked at Liam. "Is this what you want? To throw me out in the middle of the night for your pregnant mistress?" Liam sighed, looking annoyed rather than guilty. "Don't make a scene, Sarah. It's pathetic. Just pack your bags. Mum's right. You never really fit in here." Beatrice smirked, swirling her wine. "Make sure you check her bags, Charles. We don't want her taking the silver." Something inside Sarah snapped. It wasn't a snap of breakage, but a snap of alignment, a lock clicking into place. She looked at these 3 people, this family she had tried so desperately to please for 3 years, suppressing her own identity, her own history, just to be Liam's wife. She stopped trembling. She straightened her spine. She looked Beatrice dead in the eye. "You want me to leave?" Sarah asked quietly. "Immediately," Beatrice hissed. "Fine." Sarah turned and walked toward the door. "I won't be taking any bags. I came into this house with nothing you valued, and I'll leave with nothing you value." "Where will you go?" Liam called after her, a momentary flicker of pity in his voice. "The Motel 6 on the highway." Sarah paused at the archway. She didn't look back. "Don't worry about me, Liam. Worry about the fact that you just made the biggest mistake of your financial life." Beatrice howled with laughter. "Oh, listen to her. The girl from the trailer park is giving financial advice. Go on, shoo." Sarah walked out the front door into the crisp Connecticut night. She didn't take her car. It was leased in Charles's name. She didn't take her coat. She walked down the long, winding driveway, the gravel crunching beneath her heels. Once she reached the main road, she stopped. The darkness of the wooded lane surrounded her. She reached into her pocket. She had kept one thing, a burner phone she had hidden in a shoebox for 3 years. She turned it on. The battery was low, but it had a signal. She dialed a number she hadn't called since the day she met Liam. It rang once, twice. "Hello." A deep British voice answered, crisp, authoritative, and older. "Arthur," Sarah said, her voice finally breaking. "It's me. It's Sarah." There was a profound silence on the other end. Then the voice softened, losing its business edge. "Sarah, my God. Sarah, where are you?" "I'm in Greenwich, on the side of the road. I left him, Arthur, or they threw me out. I'm done hiding." "Stay right there," the voice commanded. "Do not move. I'm activating the tracker on your phone. I'm sending the helicopter. It will be there in 20 minutes. "Arthur, yes, my dear. Tell Dad I'm coming home." The roar of the Sikorsky S-76 helicopter shattered the quiet of the Greenwich night. It didn't land on the Worthington estate, but in a private polo field a half-mile down the road, a property that had been vacant for years. Sarah climbed aboard. The interior was cream leather and mahogany. Sitting there looking anxious was a man in a sharp grey suit, Arthur Pennyworth, the chief of staff for the Cavendish estate. "Miss Sarah," Arthur breathed, looking her over. He saw the cheap dress, the lack of a coat, the shivering. His face hardened. "Did they hurt you?" "Only my pride," Sarah said, buckling herself in, "and my heart a little. But the heart heals. Your father is in London. He's fueling the Gulf Stream to meet you in New York. We're taking you to the penthouse at the pier." Sarah nodded, leaning her head back. "Does he know?" "He knows you married a Worthington," Arthur said with a distasteful curl of his lip. "He respected your wish for anonymity. You wanted to see if you could be loved for Sarah, not for being the daughter of Lord Henry Cavendish. I take it the experiment failed. They treated me like dirt, Arthur, because they thought I was poor. They thought I was a nobody from Ohio because that's the fake background we created." Sarah laughed bitterly. "Beatrice Worthington told me I didn't understand seasonal fashion." Arthur raised an eyebrow. "You, the woman who sat on Gianni Versace's lap as a child, the woman who owns a 15% silent stake in LVMH. They didn't know. Well," Arthur handed her a glass of vintage champagne, "they are about to find out, but not yet. Revenge is a dish best served cold, and your father has a very large freezer." 3 days later, the lawyer's office. Sarah sat in the conference room of Sullivan and Cromwell in Manhattan. She was not wearing the cheap dress anymore. She was wearing a black turtleneck-tailored trousers and dark sunglasses. She sat alone on one side of the massive oak table. The door opened, and in walked Liam Beatrice and their family lawyer, a sweaty man named Mr. Gorski. "Well, look who cleaned up," Beatrice said, sitting down and placing her Hermes bag on the table conspicuously. "Did you find a sugar daddy already, Sarah? Or is that knockoff Armani?" Sarah didn't speak. She didn't even take off her sunglasses. "Let's make this quick," Liam said, looking at his watch. "Jess has an ultrasound in an hour. Here is the settlement." Gorski slid a paper across the table. $30,000. A gag order, preventing you from discussing the Worthington family or business. And you waive all rights to spousal support. Sarah picked up the paper. She read it slowly. "You also want me to sign a non-compete?" Sarah asked, her voice low. "Saying I can't work in the luxury goods or finance sector in New York for 5 years. We can't have you using the Worthington name to get a job as a teller or a shop girl." Beatrice sniffed. "It confuses the brand." "The brand," Sarah repeated. "Worthington Logistics, a mid-sized shipping company currently leveraging 60% of its assets to expand into European markets. A risky move given the current volatility of the euro." Charles, who had just walked in, froze. "What do you know about our European expansion?" "I listened," Sarah said. "I served your dinners. I cleaned your offices. I listened." "Sign the paper, Sarah," Liam snapped. "Stop pretending you understand business." Sarah took a pen from her purse. It was a Mont Blanc, heavy and gold-tipped. Beatrice's eyes flickered to it, confused. Sarah signed the document with a flourish. "There," Sarah said, sliding it back. "I want the check." "Good girl." Beatrice smiled cruelly. She pulled a check from her purse and tossed it across the table. It fluttered to the floor. "Oops. Pick it up, dear. It's more money than you'll see in a decade." Sarah stood up. She walked around the table. The Worthingtons watched her, expecting her to kneel. Instead, Sarah stepped on the check with her stiletto heel. She ground it into the carpet. "Keep it," Sarah said. "You're going to need it more than I do." "Excuse me." Beatrice stood up, outraged. "You ungrateful little—" "I'm ungrateful." Sarah removed her sunglasses. Her eyes were cold, hard, and brilliant. "I cooked your meals. I tolerated your insults. I loved your son. I wanted a family. But you are a hollow plastic dynasty built on debt and arrogance. "Get out," Liam shouted. "Get out before I call security." "I'm leaving," Sarah said. She walked to the door. "Oh, and Liam, that European expansion. I'd double-check your financing if I were you. Lenders can be so fickle." She walked out. As she stepped onto the sidewalk of Wall Street, a caravan of 3 black Cadillac Escalades pulled up. Security guards with earpieces hopped out, blocking pedestrian traffic, to open the rear door of the middle vehicle. Liam and Beatrice had followed her to the lobby, intending to mock her one last time as she walked to the subway. They watched through the glass doors, their mouths hanging open. A man stepped out of the car to help Sarah in. It wasn't just a driver. It was Lord Henry Cavendish, the billionaire industrialist, the man whose face was on the cover of Forbes that very month. He hugged Sarah tight. He kissed her forehead. He looked at the building where the Worthingtons were standing, and he cast a look of such withering, terrifying power that Liam actually took a step back behind the glass. Sarah got in. The motorcade sped away. Who was that?" Liam stammered. Beatrice was pale. She gripped her husband's arm. "That was Henry Cavendish, the steel and tech magnate. He's worth $50 billion. "Why was he hugging Sarah?" Liam asked, a pit forming in his stomach. Charles Worthington looked like he was going to be sick. He pulled out his phone and frantically Googled something. He clicked on an image result. "Oh my God," Charles whispered. What is it?" Beatrice shrieked. Charles turned the phone screen toward them. It was a picture of Lord Cavendish from 10 years ago, standing next to a teenage girl at a horse race. The caption read, "Lord Henry Cavendish, with his only daughter and sole heir, Sarah Cavendish, who rarely makes public appearances." Beatrice slumped against the wall. She's a Cavendish." Liam felt the blood drain from his face. "I just divorced the heiress to the Cavendish fortune. For Jessica. And we just made her sign a non-compete," Charles said, his voice cracking, "which means nothing. But we also humiliated her. We treated the most powerful woman in New York like a servant." "What is she going to do?" Liam whispered. In the back of the Escalade, Sarah sipped a sparkling water. "Are you ready, darling?" her father asked. "Yes, Daddy," Sarah said, looking out the window at the shrinking figure of the building. "I want to buy their debt, all of it." "Consider it done." Lord Cavendish smiled. "Worthington Logistics belongs to you by tomorrow morning." The transition was not instantaneous, but it was brutal. For the next 6 months, Sarah Cavendish vanished. In her place, a ghost haunted the financial markets. Sarah spent those months in London and Zurich undergoing a crash course in the family empire. She had always known the business she had, an MBA from Wharton, under a pseudonym, but now she was being groomed for war. She cut her hair into a sharp, angular bob. She traded the floral dresses Liam liked for structured power suits by Alexander McQueen and Saint Laurent. She learned to walk not with the hesitation of a wife, trying to avoid criticism, but with the heavy, decisive tread of a woman who owns the ground beneath her feet. Back in New York, the Worthingtons were struggling. "I don't understand," Charles yelled, slamming the phone down in his office. "The financing for the Rotterdam deal fell through again." Liam sat on the leather couch, head in his hands. Jessica was filing her nails nearby, looking bored. She was 6 months pregnant and had already spent half of Liam's liquid savings on a nursery renovation. "It's just a delay, Dad," Liam muttered. "It's not a delay, Liam. It's a blockade." Charles paced the room. "Every bank we go to, every private equity firm, the moment they hear Worthington, the doors close. It's like we've been blacklisted." "Maybe it's the economy," Jessica offered vacantly. "Shut up, Jessica. Beatrice snapped from her desk. It's not the economy. Someone is squeezing us. Someone is buying up our promissory notes and calling them in early. Who has that kind of capital? Liam asked. I don't know, Charles said, wiping sweat from his forehead. All the trails lead to a shell company called Nemesis Holdings. I can't find out who owns it. We need a lifeline, Beatrice said. We need the merger with Pendleton Dynamics. If we can merge with them, their cash flow saves us. The gala, Liam said, sitting up. The Masquerade Charity Gala at the Met on Saturday. The CEO of Pendleton will be there. We have to corner him. We have to make a good impression, Beatrice said, narrowing her eyes. Jessica, you stay home. You look inflated. Excuse me, Jessica gasped. You heard me. Liam, you go alone. Look available. Look successful. We need to charm these people. Little did they know the CEO of Pendleton Dynamics wasn't the one making the decisions anymore. Pendleton had been quietly acquired 3 weeks ago by Cavendish Industries, and the new chairman of the board was coming to the gala. The night of the gala, the Metropolitan Museum of Art was transformed into a shimmering palace of gold and velvet. The theme was Venetian Masquerade. Every guest wore elaborate masks hiding their identities. Liam stood by the bar nursing a scotch. He was miserable. His life with Jessica was a nightmare of shallow conversations and spending sprees. He missed Sarah. He missed the way she listened. He missed the pot roast. He missed the peace. Stop moping, Beatrice hissed, appearing at his side in a garish red gown and a feathered mask. Have you seen the Pendleton representative? No, mother. I heard a rumor, Charles whispered, joining them. Rumor is that Cavendish Industries is sending a special envoy, a new director of global operations. Cavendish, Beatrice swallowed hard. Do you think she told him? Sarah. Liam laughed bitterly. She's probably living on a beach somewhere, living off Daddy's money. She doesn't have the brains for business. She won't be here. Suddenly the room went quiet. At the top of the grand staircase, a woman appeared. She wore a gown of midnight blue silk that seemed to flow like liquid water. It was backless, dusted with diamonds that caught the light like stars. On her face was a mask made of white gold filigree covering her eyes, but revealing her sharp, red-painted lips. She didn't walk. She glided. The crowd parted for her like the Red Sea. Who is that? Liam whispered, entranced. That, said a man next to him, is the mystery buyer, the one who's been shaking up Wall Street for the last 6 months. Nobody knows her name. The woman reached the bottom of the stairs. A flock of admirers surrounded her instantly, CEOs, politicians, movie stars. She handled them with effortless grace, speaking French to the ambassador, Mandarin to the tech mogul. We have to talk to her, Beatrice said, her greed overriding her fear. If she's the buyer, she's the one squeezing us. We need to beg for mercy or offer her a deal. The Worthingtons pushed through the crowd. Beatrice, with her usual lack of subtlety, elbowed a senator out of the way. Excuse me, Beatrice said, tapping the woman on the shoulder. Madam. The woman turned slowly. Her blue eyes, framed by the gold mask, locked on to Beatrice. There was no warmth in them, only a chilling familiarity. Mrs. Worthington, the woman said. Her voice was altered slightly deeper, richer. I was wondering when you would approach me. You know who I am, Beatrice preened. Of course you do. I am Beatrice Worthington of Worthington Logistics. I am well aware of your company, the woman said. And its distress. It's a temporary cash flow issue, Charles interjected, stepping forward. We are looking for a strategic partner. We heard you are acquiring assets. I am, the woman said. She looked at Liam. And you must be the son. The one who recently remarried. Liam blushed. Yes. How did you know? I make it my business to know the weaknesses of my investments, she said coldly. We aren't a weakness, Beatrice snapped. We are a legacy. You are a sinking ship, the woman corrected. And I hold the torpedoes. Who are you? Liam asked, stepping closer. He felt a strange magnetic pull, a scent of jasmine and rain. It smelled like home, but expensive. I am the person who owns your mortgage, the woman said. I am the person who owns the bank that holds your car leases. And as of this morning, I am the majority shareholder of the company that supplies your fuel. I can shut down your entire fleet with a single phone call. Charles turned grey. What do you want? I want a meeting, she said. Monday morning, 9 a.m., at the Cavendish Tower. If you are 1 minute late, I liquidate your company. We'll be there, Beatrice said, trembling. May we ask your name? The woman smiled. It was a smile that didn't reach her eyes. You can call me Nemesis. She turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd. Did you see her eyes? Liam whispered. Mum, those were Sarah's eyes. Don't be stupid, Beatrice hissed. Sarah is a mouse. That woman was a lioness. Now pull yourself together. We have to prepare for the fight of our lives. Monday morning arrived with the grey, oppressive weight of a funeral. The Worthingtons stood in the lobby of Cavendish Tower, a glass monolith that pierced the Manhattan skyline. The security check took 20 minutes. Beatrice was patted down by a female guard who took entirely too much pleasure in checking the lining of her Chanel jacket. This is an outrage, Beatrice muttered as they were finally ushered into the elevator. Do they know who we are? They know exactly who we are. Mother. Liam said, his voice hollow. That's the problem. They were taken to the 80th floor. The reception area was larger than the entire ground floor of the Worthington estate. A receptionist with a headset didn't even look up as she pointed to a set of double mahogany doors. They are waiting. Inside the conference room was vast, offering a panoramic view of the city. Seated at the head of the table was Lord Henry Cavendish. He was reading a file, looking every bit the titan of industry that terrified Wall Street. But the chair at the opposite end of the table, the CEO's chair, was turned away from them, facing the window. Sit. Lord Cavendish commanded, not offering a hand. Charles sat wiping sweat from his upper lip. Lord Cavendish, it is an honor. We were surprised to hear your firm had taken an interest in our humble logistics company. Interest? Lord Cavendish chuckled darkly. I have no interest in your company, Mr. Worthington. Your business model is archaic, your leadership is toxic, and your margins are laughable. I bought your debt for one reason only. And what is that? Beatrice asked, trying to keep her voice steady, to give it to my daughter as a divorce present. The chair facing the window slowly swiveled around. Liam gasped. The air left his lungs. It was Sarah, but not the Sarah he knew. Gone was the messy bun, the apron, the shy smile. This Sarah wore a white tailored suit that cost more than Liam's car. Her hair was sharp, her makeup flawless, and her eyes were like lasers cutting through steel. Hello, family, Sarah said. Her voice was calm, terrifyingly so. Sarah. Beatrice stood up, her legs shaking. This is a joke. You're the receptionist, the secretary. Sit down, Beatrice, Sarah said. She didn't shout. She didn't have to. The authority in her voice was absolute. Beatrice sat. I am the chairwoman of Nemesis Holdings, Sarah explained, opening a folder in front of her. And as of 8 a.m. this morning, I own 72% of Worthington Logistics' outstanding debt. I also own the promissory notes on your warehouse in New Jersey, your fleet of trucks, and—" she paused, smiling slightly, "the mortgage on the Greenwich estate." You can't," Charles stammered. "The house is in a trust." "A trust that you leveraged 6 months ago to cover your bad bets on the euro," Sarah corrected, tossing a document across the table. "You put the house up as collateral, Charles. Did you forget to tell Beatrice?" Beatrice whipped her head toward her husband. "You did what? I thought the market would turn," Charles cried. "Focus!" Sarah snapped. "Here is the situation. Your company is insolvent. I have the right to foreclose on everything immediately. The trucks stop running today. The house is seized tomorrow. You will be destitute by Wednesday." Liam looked at her, his eyes pleading. "Sarah, please. I know we hurt you. I know I made a mistake. But don't destroy my parents. Don't destroy everything we built." Sarah looked at Liam. For a second, he thought he saw a flicker of the old Sarah. "You built nothing, Liam," she said softly. "You inherited a head start, and you still finished last. But I am not a monster. I am willing to offer a deal." "Anything," Charles said. "We'll do anything." "Option A." Sarah held up one finger. "I foreclose. You lose the company, the house, the cars. You file for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. You leave here with nothing." "And option B?" Beatrice asked breathlessly. "Option B," Sarah leaned forward. "I acquire the company completely. I absorb it into Cavendish Industries. I pay off the debts. You keep the house in Greenwich. For now." "We take option B," Charles shouted. "There are conditions," Sarah interrupted. "What conditions?" Liam asked, sensing the trap. "First," Sarah looked at Charles, "you retire, effective immediately. You will sign over all voting rights to me. You get a small pension enough to keep the lights on, but no more country club fees, no more private jets." Charles slumped. "Fine. Done." "Second." Sarah turned her gaze to Beatrice. "You have no role in the company. You never did, really, but you liked to interfere. You are banned from the premises. And you will write a public letter of apology to me, admitting to your harassment and mistreatment during my marriage to your son. It will be published in the New York Times." Beatrice turned purple. "I will never—" "Then choose option A and start looking for a cardboard box," Sarah said, indifferently checking her watch. "She'll do it," Charles said quickly. "She'll write the letter." And finally, Sarah turned to Liam. "You." "What about me?" Liam asked. "Do I have to resign?" "No," Sarah smiled. "I want you to stay. I need someone who knows the legacy systems." Liam let out a breath of relief. "Thank you, Sarah. I knew you still had feelings for—" "You will stay on as a junior inventory clerk," Sarah finished, "reporting to the warehouse manager in Newark. Your salary will be $35,000 a year. No bonuses. You will punch a clock. You will wear a uniform." "A clerk?" Liam stood up, outraged. "I was the VP of operations. I have a business degree." "You were a VP because your daddy gave you a desk," Sarah said, her voice turning to ice. "You want to prove you're a man, Liam. You want to support your new wife and child. Then earn it. Work for it like I worked for your mother's approval. Scrub the floors if you have to." "I won't do it," Liam spat. "Then the deal is off." Sarah closed the folder. "I'll have the eviction notice served by noon." Liam looked at his parents. Charles was weeping silently. Beatrice was staring at the table, defeated. They had no cards left to play. "Fine," Liam whispered, tears of humiliation welling in his eyes. "I'll take the job." "Good." Sarah stood up. "Get out of my office. Report to Newark tomorrow at 6 a.m. Don't be late. I hate tardiness." The drive back to Greenwich was silent. The Escalade, which they would soon have to return as part of the asset seizure, felt like a hearse. When they arrived at the estate, the atmosphere was frantic. Jessica was in the living room, surrounded by shopping bags from Saks Fifth Avenue and Bergdorf Goodman. She was holding up a tiny baby onesie made of cashmere. "Look," she squealed, as Liam walked in looking like a ghost. "Isn't it adorable? It was $400, but nothing is too good for our little prince." Liam looked at the price tag. $400. That was nearly a week's wages at his new job. "Take it back," Liam said, his voice raspy. Jessica froze. "Excuse me. Take it all back, Jessica. The clothes, the crib, the shoes, all of it." "Liam, don't be ridiculous." Beatrice walked in, pouring herself a massive glass of vodka. "Let the girl have her fun. We still have the house." "We have the house," Liam screamed, finally losing control. "But we have no money. Do you understand? Dad is on a pension. I'm making minimum wage. We are broke." Jessica dropped the onesie. Her face went pale, but not with fear, with calculation. "What do you mean, broke?" Liam slumped onto the sofa, burying his face in his hands. "Sarah. She's a Cavendish. Her father is Lord Henry Cavendish. She bought the company. She bought everything. She owns us." The maid." Jessica laughed nervously. That frumpy little thing just hostile took over our entire lives," Charles said, staring out the window. "We are at her mercy." Jessica stood there, her mind processing the information at lightning speed. No money. No influence. A husband who was now a warehouse clerk. A mother-in-law who was a social pariah. "So," Jessica said slowly, "you're telling me that I married into a family that is essentially poor. It's temporary," Liam pleaded, looking up at her. "We'll rebuild. I'll work my way up. We have each other, Jess. We have the baby." Jessica looked at him. The mask of the doting fiancé slipped, revealing the cold, hard ambition underneath. She looked at her fingernails. "Yeah, about that," she said casually. "About what?" Liam asked. "I think I'm going to go stay with my sister in the city for a while," Jessica said, grabbing her purse. "This is all a bit stressful, not good for the baby." "Jessica, we need to stick together." Liam stood up, reaching for her. She sidestepped him. "Actually, Liam, I've been thinking. We rushed this. Maybe we're not right for each other." "Not right? You're pregnant with my child." Jessica paused at the door. She looked back at the family, the weeping father, the drunk mother, the broken son. She let out a sigh. "Look, Liam, I like you. You're cute. But I didn't sign up for the for poorer part of the vows. I have options. My ex, Todd, the hedge fund guy, he's been texting me." "You're leaving me because I lost the money?" Liam asked, disbelief washing over him. "Sarah stayed with me when she thought I had nothing. She signed a prenup to prove she didn't want my money." "Well, Sarah is an idiot," Jessica snapped. "Or I guess a billionaire who could afford to be romantic. I can't. I have standards." "What about the baby?" Beatrice shrieked from her chair. "You can't take our grandchild." Jessica rolled her eyes. She placed a hand on her stomach. Then she laughed, a cruel, tinkling sound. "God, you people are gullible," she said. The room went deadly silent. "What?" Liam whispered. "There is no baby, Liam," Jessica said, checking her reflection in the hallway mirror. "I bought the ultrasound off eBay. It's a great way to close a deal on a ring. I was going to miscarry in a few weeks anyway, to get the sympathy vote and a trip to the Maldives." Liam felt his knees give out. He fell back onto the sofa. You faked it. You cheated on your wife." Jessica shrugged. "I cheated on a pregnancy test. All is fair in love and war, sweetie." She grabbed two of the shopping bags, the ones with the jewelry, and opened the front door. "Good luck at the warehouse, Liam. I hear the vests are very slimming." The door slammed shut. The silence that followed was total. Liam sat there, the echo of the slamming door ringing in his ears. He looked around the room. The luxury, the art, the furniture, it all looked like a stage set now. Fake. He had thrown away the only real thing in his life, a woman who loved him for him, a woman who was secretly a queen, for a lie. He had traded a diamond for a piece of broken glass. She was lying, Charles whispered. Beatrice threw her glass into the fireplace, shattering it. That harlot. I knew it. I knew she was trash. You picked her, Liam roared, jumping up and turning on his mother. You told me she was one of us. You told me Sarah wasn't good enough. You did this. Don't you dare raise your voice at me. Beatrice screamed back. I was trying to save our reputation. You destroyed it. Liam grabbed a vase, a Ming vase, that Beatrice loved more than her children, and hurled it against the wall. It exploded into dust. Stop it, stop it, Charles yelled, covering his ears. Liam stood amidst the wreckage of the vase and his life. He was breathing hard. He looked at his hands. I have to go to work tomorrow, he said, his voice sounding like a dead man's. I have to report to the warehouse. He walked up the stairs to his room, leaving his parents screaming at each other in the ruins of their dynasty. He went to his closet and found the old pair of work boots he used for gardening. He set them by the door. He sat on the edge of his bed and pulled out his phone. He opened his gallery. He scrolled back 3 years. There was a photo of Sarah. She was wearing a messy t-shirt flower on her nose, laughing as she tried to make pizza. He touched the screen. I'm so sorry, he whispered to the pixels. I'm so sorry. But the Sarah in the photo just smiled, frozen in a time that would never return. And somewhere in Manhattan, the real Sarah was sipping wine, looking out over a city she now owned, finally free. But the story wasn't over. Sarah had taken their money. She had taken their pride. Now she was going to take their secrets. 6 months had passed since the hostile takeover. The winter in New Jersey was unforgiving. At the Newark distribution center of Worthington Logistics, now a subsidiary of Cavendish Industries. The heating system was old and rattled loudly, offering little warmth against the biting wind that whipped through the loading bays. Liam Worthington wiped grease from his forehead with the back of a gloved hand. He was thinner now. The softness of his face, born of expensive facials and idle weekends, had been replaced by the gaunt sharpness of exhaustion. He wore a blue jumpsuit with a name tag that simply read, L. Worthington, Inventory Clerk. Hey, Worthington, the shift manager, a burly man named Tony, shouted. Truck 404 is back. Unload it. Hand check every box. And don't mess it up like last time. On it, Tony, Liam said quietly. He didn't argue. He didn't mention that he used to have Tony's boss's boss over for dinner. He just grabbed his clipboard and walked to the bay. Liam had learned a lot in 6 months. He learned that his feet hurt after 10 hours on concrete. He learned that $35,000 a year meant eating ramen noodles and living in a basement studio apartment in Weehawken because he refused to take a dime from his parents. And he learned about the company, the real company. As he began logging the inventory from Truck 404, a shipment supposedly containing automotive parts from a supplier in Miami, he noticed something odd. The boxes were too light. He cut the tape on one box. Inside there were no carburetors or pistons. There was only bubble wrap and a single small stack of documents. Liam frowned. He opened another box. Same thing. He took the documents to the back of the warehouse, to a small cage where the archived files were kept. He began to cross-reference the shipping numbers. He spent his lunch break digging. Then he stayed late, hiding in the stacks when the night shift came on. What he found made his blood run cold. For the past 5 years, Worthington Logistics hadn't just been making bad bets on the euro. They had been running a ghost truck scheme. Charles Worthington had been invoicing clients for high-end shipping insurance on cargo that didn't exist, moving empty boxes across state lines to launder money for a shell corporation based in the Cayman Islands. The euro losses Charles had cried about were fake. He hadn't lost the money, he had stolen it. He had been siphoning millions out of the company, hiding it away, while crying poverty to his investors. "Oh my God," Liam whispered, staring at a ledger signed by his father. He wasn't just incompetent, he's a criminal. The realization hit him harder than the divorce. His father had sat at that dining table, humiliating Sarah for being poor, all while sitting on a mountain of stolen cash. Suddenly, the warehouse lights flickered on fully. Liam jumped, shoving the papers under his jacket. The heavy steel doors of the loading bay opened, and a familiar entourage walked in. Security guards, suits, and in the center, wearing a camel-colored cashmere coat and inspecting the facility with a critical eye, was Sarah. It was her quarterly inspection. Liam shrank back into the shadows. He couldn't face her. Not looking like this. Not with grease on his face and the knowledge of his family's crimes in his pocket. "Efficiency is up 12%, Arthur Pennyworth was saying, walking beside Sarah with an iPad. "The new management protocols are working." "Good," Sarah said. Her voice carried through the cavernous space. "But the morale index is low. I want a heating upgrade approved for this facility by Monday. Nobody works in the cold on my watch." Tony, the manager, looked stunned. "Thank you, Miss Cavendish. We've been asking for heaters for years. Mr. Charles always said it was too expensive." "Mr. Charles had his priorities backward," Sarah said dryly. She turned her eyes, scanning the rows of shelves. For a moment, her gaze lingered on the dark corner where Liam was hiding. He held his breath. "Did she see him?" She paused. A flicker of something sadness, pity crossed her face. Then she turned back to Arthur. "Let's go. I have a meeting with the SEC in an hour." As they walked away, Liam slumped against the shelving unit. He looked at the stolen documents in his hand. He had a choice. If he destroyed these papers, his father was safe. The secret would remain buried. Liam could keep his head down, work his yours, and maybe eventually get a promotion. If he turned them in, he would destroy what was left of his family. His father would go to prison. His mother would be destitute for real this time. The Worthington name would be synonymous with fraud. But he thought of Sarah. He thought of her integrity. He thought of how she had tried to save the pot roast while his mother mocked her. He thought of how she bought heaters for the workers while his father bought yachts with stolen money. Liam zipped up his jacket. He walked out of the warehouse past his beat-up Honda Civic and walked toward the train station. He wasn't going to his apartment. He was going to Manhattan. The reception area of Cavendish Tower was quiet. It was 9:00 p.m. "I need to see her," Liam told the night guard. "Ms. Cavendish is not accepting visitors," the guard said, eyeing Liam's dirty jumpsuit. "Tell her it's Liam," he said, his voice steady. "Tell her I have the ghost truck files." 5 minutes later, Liam was in the elevator. When the doors opened to the penthouse office, Sarah was standing by the window looking out at the city lights. She held a glass of red wine. She didn't turn around. "You look tired, Liam," she said, seeing his reflection in the glass. "I am," Liam said. He didn't step onto the plush carpet. He stayed on the marble foyer so he wouldn't track grease. "I found something." He walked over and placed the stack of documents on her desk. Sarah turned. She looked at the papers, then at Liam. She walked over and flipped through them. Her expression didn't change. "The Cayman accounts," she said softly. "I suspected Charles was cooking the books, but I couldn't find the second ledger. You found it." "He was laundering money," Liam said, his voice cracking. "Millions, while telling everyone we were broke, while treating you like garbage." "Why are you giving me this?" Sarah asked, looking him in the eye. "If I use this, your father goes to federal prison. For a long time." "I know," Liam said, tears cutting tracks through the grime on his face. "But it's the truth. And I'm done lying. I'm done being a Worthington. I just want to be decent." Sarah looked at him for a long time. The silence stretched heavy with history. Finally she sighed and closed the folder. "You've grown up, Liam," she said quietly. "It took losing everything, but you finally grew up." "I'm sorry, Sarah," Liam whispered. "I'm so sorry for everything. For Jessica. For not defending you. For being a coward." "I forgive you," Sarah said. Liam's head snapped up, hope flaring in his chest. "You do. I forgive you," she repeated. "But that doesn't mean I want you back." The hope died, replaced by a dull ache, but also acceptance. "I know," Liam nodded. "I don't deserve you." "No," Sarah said gently. "We just don't fit anymore. I am not the woman you married, and you are just starting to figure out who you are. You need to do that on your own." She pressed a button on her intercom. "Arthur, call the FBI. Tell them we have the evidence on Charles Worthington." 2 weeks later, the fallout. The arrest was televised. Charles Worthington was led out of the Greenwich estate in handcuffs. The FBI raided the house, seizing everything: the art, the furniture, the jewelry as proceeds of crime. Beatrice Worthington stood on the lawn screaming at the cameras, looking disheveled and old. She was evicted that afternoon. With no assets and her husband's accounts frozen, she was forced to move into a state-subsidized assisted living facility in Queens. Her days of galas and wine were over. Jessica van der Hoeven, seeing the news, tried to sell her story to a tabloid, claiming she was a victim of the Worthington fraud. But Sarah's legal team slapped her with a defamation suit so fast that Jessica fled to Idaho to live with an aunt, disappearing into obscurity. And Liam stood outside the courthouse as his father was arraigned. He didn't go inside. He turned and walked away. He had resigned from the warehouse. But he wasn't unemployed. Sarah had done one last thing for him. She had set up a small educational trust. It wasn't cash he could spend. It was tuition. It was enough for him to go back to school, to get a degree in something he actually cared about: architecture, a dream he had abandoned to please his father. A year later, Sarah Cavendish sat in a cafe in Paris reading the International Herald Tribune. The headline on page 6 read, "Worthington Ponzi Scheme Mastermind, sentenced to 15 years. She took a sip of her cappuccino. She felt light. The anger that had fueled her for so long had finally evaporated, leaving behind a sense of calm. She had reclaimed her dignity, her company, and her life. Her phone buzzed. It was an email. Subject: thank you. "Sarah, I got an A in my structural design class today. I'm living in a small apartment in Chicago. I'm working part-time. It's hard, but I'm happy. I'm finally building something real. Thank you for forcing me to wake up." Sarah smiled. She didn't reply. She deleted the email, closed her phone, and looked out at the Eiffel Tower. A handsome man in a sharp suit approached her table. "Sarah, the car is ready for the board meeting." "I'm coming," Sarah said. She stood up, adjusted her coat, and walked out into the sunlight. She wasn't Mrs. Worthington. She wasn't the victim. She was Sarah Cavendish, and the world was hers. The Worthingtons had tried to bury her, they didn't know she was a seed. And that, my friends, is why you never judge a book by its cover or a daughter-in-law by her bank account. The Worthingtons lost everything, not because they were unlucky, but because they were cruel. Sarah walked away with her head held high, proving that the best revenge isn't just success, it's moving on and letting karma do the dirty work. What do you think? Did Liam deserve that small bit of redemption at the end, or should Sarah have left him in the warehouse to rot? And what would you have done if you found those secret files? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story of billion-dollar revenge, please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell, so you never miss a story. We post new dramas every Tuesday and Friday. Thanks for watching. And remember, be careful who you step on today. They might own the sidewalk tomorrow.